author of Why Doctors Don't Get Rich. One of my favorite humans in the planet, and also I think it's because Gabe, your assistant's not here too, which I also love, Gabe. And you're also a real estate investor. Thank you so much for coming in. We so appreciate you. I think you just flew in from Finland or something like that, right?
I did, yeah, about 48 hours ago.
Jeez. Well, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we always start the show off talking about where you grew up, kind of your early years, and also where'd you grow up, and what made you pick medicine?
Yeah, that's great. So I grew up here in Austin back when Dripping Springs here was just a little flyby. Austin was probably about the size of Dripping Springs, but I grew up here, and really was just mostly what I did was sports.
Okay.
And so my dad was an athlete at Ohio State, and we moved here to Texas when I was about 12 years old, and so that's all I did, played sports.
Yeah.
And I used to tell people I played sports and tried to chase women, at least with those.
What sport did you play?
So I played baseball, football, and then this body obviously wasn't going to be a football player, and reasonable at baseball, and then picked up a tennis racket right before senior year or before freshman year of high school, and so I played a little tennis, and by the end of my freshman year, I was number one on the tennis team.
Oh, damn.
So I kept doing that, which leads to the rest of the story. Nobody was ever going to pay me to play tennis, unless it was some tennis pro at some, off-site tennis club or something. So I wanted to do something that kept me, allowed me to hang out with the athletes that I knew so well. So I figured, hey, I'll become a doctor and do sports medicine and do that. And so that's really was my whole motivation. So I went through the process and got lucky, made it.
Yeah. Any of your family in the medical business?
There's none. My mother was a nurse, but she stopped doing that before I was kind of, much of a conscious guy. So,
Yeah.
I was the only one. My dad was a cop.
Was he really?
Interesting. Cop here in Austin.
He was Secret Service. So
Oh, okay.
That's what moved us around the country a bit.
Okay.
So I wasn't born in Austin, but we moved here, and he decided to stop moving around. So he was on the Kennedy detail.
I was gonna say, who was he? He was on
Wow.
the Kennedy detail.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
He's got a great story.
Was he in Dallas?
He put Kennedy on the plane and
Okay.
flew to Austin. Was doing the advance for the talk Kennedy was supposed to give in Austin.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
Wow.
Austin. You knew Austin was the next step after Dallas.
Yeah, I did know that. Wow. So where'd you go to medical school? Where'd you go to school?
So I went to school here, obviously high school here in Austin.
Yeah.
And then went to the University of Texas. And so I had a bunch of tennis scholarship offers, but I wanted to go to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy wouldn't give me Coach Snyder wouldn't give me a scholarship. So he said, go win intramurals. And I lost like barely in the finals in intramurals. So that ended my tennis career, I think. But it was just as well. So I went here, and then I went to med school in Dallas. Did my training for orthopedics in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then did my sports medicine in Vail, Colorado, and then came back home. Couldn't wait to get back home.
Yeah.
So is Vail, Colorado, how you got interested in being now the U.S. ski team's doctor?
Absolutely. The guy I trained with, his name was Richard Stedman, and he's sort of the father of ski medicine. He took care of Tamara McKinney and Cindy Nelson, and names your listeners may not know, but they're sort of the medalists and the people that started bringing skiing up, for the U.S. And so there, I, obviously met a lot of skiers, met a lot of athletes there, a lot of, Hollywood folks too. But it was there that I did my first coverage for the Alpine team, and then when I finished that year, I was the doctor for the Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid. So that was, it's like 3-week gig. And so back then, there was no cell phones, and you had to stick around.
Yeah.
I had to be there at like 9 and 4 for clinics, so I didn't have anything to do. So I hung around with the freestyle team who was training in the pool. The guys that jump up and do flips and stuff. So I hung out with them. Well, I was 30 years old, and pretty athletic. So they trained me.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. So I was the only doctor to qualify to compete, to jump. I never did, but so that's what got me with the freestyle team, and I've been with them for the last 30 years.
I bet so. The medicine, sports medicine, has had to have changed tremendously in that time, right? Back probably 34 years ago, you were just probably doing casts and stuff, and now there's all these other things in sports. Tell us about that.
I like everything. Things change, like a pendulum swings. One thing, we always do this, and then 20 years later, we never do that. So things have changed. A lot less invasive procedures. Doing a lot more with the arthroscope. A lot less staying in hospitals. Hospitals are not places to get well. So it's good to get people operating on and get them out of there. So a lot of changes, and technology, and now the AI is really changing things more on a diagnostic front, but it's gonna change things in the equipment.
Is it really? Yeah.
I think so.
In the operating room as well, do you think?
I think so, and I'm not well versed enough to know, but I'm pretty sure it's going to change things there. I just sat in a lecture the other day and saw how things are really changing with AI, and there's multiple platforms for doctors to use to help with different. It's now considered. You're now considered. It's standard of care now to utilize to augment with AI.
I know when I got my MRI, I think it was ARA, one of the disclaimers at the top was that, do you agree to let AI in conjunction with the physician read your report? I was like, what?
Yeah, because doctors in the past, and they probably still do, like if you came across something really complicated, you might call somebody and say, hey, I've got this thing, have you ever seen anything like that? Now AI is almost that online presence that can do the same thing.
Yeah, it's really helpful. I mean, it's back in the early days, which was yesterday practically. It hallucinated sometimes. AI would.
Yeah.
It's doing that a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
I used it right before I came here. I wanted to give somebody a gift. It's like, hey, I got a real estate agent in Chicago. I want a gift, and my AI was like, gave me a bunch of suggestions. So it's everywhere.
It's kind of scary. Yeah. What about on the performance side of these athletes? I know, like, I follow cycling a lot, and cyclists used to be like, well, you ride 300 miles a week and you eat pasta and then you're good. And now there's watts, and they're testing their blood and their urine and all these monitors they wear. What kind of stuff have you seen in that?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. You've probably seen more than I have.
Yeah.
But I mean, the monitoring now. I mean, if you think back, just for people like us, there's all continuous monitoring. I had a Garmin watch on earlier today. People wear Oura rings, and so that stuff used to be kind of cool to see how many steps you had, or maybe what your heart rate variability was. But now, according to a neurologist friend of mine, I was just listening to him. He just wrote a book on lifespan. He said, look, that's not just cool now. It's part of your health. Part of your health. Because sleep is so important. We need that to regenerate cells and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and you're your own best advocate, right? You go in, you get 10 minutes if you're lucky with the doctor, and you really need to know what's going on in your own body so you can explain it to them so they can learn it.
Do you think that with AI it has kind of changed just in general the philosophy of care, that and how has it evolved over the years, how you're looking at care? Because I think still as a doctor you still need to have hands-on. You still need to have hands on a patient. You're not going to be replaced by an AI robot.
No. There's still, I think, what's that last study somebody just did where, the AI did a little bit better than the doctors, but the doctor and the AI did better than everything. But yeah, you're still going to have your hands. Obviously, as you know, we've been through for years. You can't do that surgery yet.
No.
And there's nuances and there's things like that. So it's not going to replace us, but it's going to be an augment that everybody's going to have to use.
That's what we say about real estate. There's too many variables, right? I mean, I know that AI can cover a lot of that, but you get some weird thing or somebody's personality you got to deal with. That AI, I just don't see how they can meet that challenge.
Right.
So,
maybe they'll be more on time. They won't leave you.
The AI doctor.
That's right. What do you think a good doctor means to you today versus early in your career?
Oh gosh, I mean, it all goes down to empathy. For me, still, it's empathy, it's care, it's enjoying what you do. So many, and with what I do in other parts of my life, there's so many docs I run across that are just unhappy with what they're doing. But you break it down, they're not unhappy about taking care of patients or sitting across from another human. They're unhappy about the business side. So, probably back in the day, a good doctor was somebody that really cared, stayed up with his profession and specialty, his or her profession and specialty, and really enjoyed what they did. Now it's somebody who has all those same qualities, but tries to, hopefully you can silo the fact that the business is something you can't often control, and because it's over 74% of the docs are employed by larger entities, and that starts getting into bean counting and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's a little less empathy and sympathy in that kind of group, and so it's got to be siloed so that you can not bring that into the exam room when you're talking to a patient. hard to do.
When I talk about you being my favorite human on the planet, I've talked about you before on the podcast without you knowing, but you saved my son's life, and you not only saved Tate's life, but you operated on my oldest twice, both of his knees. But Tate ended up having a surgical staph infection from another doctor, and you came in and you literally saved his life. And he went on to be a Coast Guard rescue swimmer, and but I also credited a lot of his recovery to your son Peyton, because Peyton was Tate's private wrestling coach, and Tate hated PT. He thought it was boring, and Peyton said, I'm going to push you and push you and push you, and that arm kept opening up and opening up. And I think there was something at that moment between the relationship that he had with Peyton and the relationship that he had with you that really changed the trajectory of his life. And Peyton taught him something about wrestling that I truly think got him through being a rescue swimmer. When he said it wasn't football, it was wrestling. He goes, it was me, mano y mano, me against myself. It was just totally me against myself at the bottom of the pool, and somebody's rescue or trying to attack me. But I think that thinking about Tate and for me personally, how do you feel hearing that kind of story going back 10 years and having that ripple effect on somebody's life?
Oh, it makes me want to jump up and down. I mean, no, that's we all love to hear thanks. We really do. And so I tell people, there's nothing better than somebody saying, look, if it wasn't for you, I hurt before I met you, now I don't hurt. If it wasn't for you, I couldn't keep dancing, or couldn't keep playing tennis, or couldn't become a Coast Guard rescue swimmer, or couldn't whatever. And it feels pretty good, like, hey, I've mattered a little bit. I've done some good for this person. Taken my training and used it, and I mean, it's not drivel. That's a real thing. I mean, that's what keeps people going. It is a lot of fun. It's really fun to feel that. And I have another part of my life where I used to use that same thing and say, why do you do whatever you do? And people, they will thank me for reminding them that there's other ways to live their lives. So from the personal development side, they say, hey, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have known that I could do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of thing. We like to get, it feels good to know you've helped somebody else. So we're not all here by ourselves.
Yeah. So you're talking about that's the plus side of what you do in medicine, and you mentioned it a second ago, the business side. A friend of mine sells insurance to large companies, and we have conversation all the time. It's gotten to where the business side of medicine is almost overwhelming, right? And I'm sure in the 34 years or whatever you've been doing it, it's gone from probably 10 or 15% to, like you said, a majority of the time you spend doing that. What's your opinion on how we fix the healthcare industry in this country?
Oh man,
this is now a 3-hour show.
Yeah. Well, give us the cliff notes first. You can step aside and ask AI if you want.
I'd get elected president, which is a job I would never take. I don't know. It's like a lawyer answer. It depends kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because we want to keep it to where smart, personable people want to become doctors, right? So it's got to be some money in it. It's got to be some pleasure in it. People will say, hey, money's not everything. You're going to have a family to take care of. If you're going to give up the decade of your 20s, you want to be able to, make that up.
Sure.
So that sounds kind of crass and commercial and mercenary, but you got to have
that's the way the world works.
And you got, it's like like a guy said, money's not the only thing in the world, but it's right up there with oxygen. So you need that. It needs to be rewarding, which we talked about.
Sure.
The patient, patient.
That's the good side. I see.
The good side, and most all the docs I ever talk to, I don't really dislike medicine. I just like the business part. I love seeing my patients if they just leave me alone, that kind of thing. So that would be nice, but we're not Pollyanna. We've got to have somebody run the business, and there's some give and take there. So we're gonna have to give it up.
Do you think they're not teaching that in med school?
The business side.
The business side of it?
No, they've added a thing or two, but nothing. No, maybe the people that really run things would prefer we didn't know, and we'd stayed to doctors. I don't know. That sounds conspiracy-ish, so it's not me to do that, but they don't teach us. No.
Well, then you got doctors that they are enjoying the side meeting with the patients, taking care of them, changing their lives, but then they run crappy businesses. That's not a good situation.
Oh yeah, they don't run. Yeah, it needs to be a good marriage of a CFO, business manager, however you want to put it. And that takes some ability too, because you can pick the wrong one.
Sure.
They can either be not competent
or your wife. Like
or your
the people that have to talk to their wife running their business.
And how many stories can I tell you about, the ethically challenged ones you come across?
Yes.
So that's life.
Yeah, what about health insurance? I know that's probably changed a bunch just in the last 15 years, dealing with all that.
It has, and sometimes you look at Canada or Europe and think, oh, it looks pretty good there, but then you look at what they pay for it. Yeah, there is no right answer.
Yeah.
We've got great care if you've got the money to get it, the insurance, and not that many people.
Well, you have this conflict also where probably, I'm sure you've run across this, where you have a treatment you want to provide to your patient, and this treatment is going to work, and you don't want to jump through all these hoops. You want to try all these other treatments. You're like, this is going to work, and you have some pencil pusher behind a desk, and an insurance company say, nope.
Right.
Nope.
And that's one side of the story. You know for a fact that this is the most economical way, the most efficient way, the fastest way to get this person better. But then there's the pencil pusher side.
Yeah.
There's some docs out there that just take the easy route, or just want to do more surgeries or make more money or schedule more tests. Again, that's life again.
Yeah.
And those folks are out there too. So there is no fix. We're just talking symptoms right now.
Yeah. You know what though? I think it's important that you said that, because I think a lot of people go through life and think that every doctor they see has their best intentions all the time, and everything they say they should take it right to heart. And you got to realize sometimes there's a guy out there with a Ferrari that needs to make his payment, and he might say, you know what, I'm going to schedule you for whatever kind of surgery, whether you maybe need it or not. And I think you just need to be aware, right, and take care of yourself.
Yep, and it's unfortunate you have to say that, but I can tell you that absolutely. I know that's there's at least a percentage of those folks out there.
I can tell you,
probably a small percentage, but they're there.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, having Dr. Burns as the doctor of your child, who has been sitting in Dell Children's for a while, that he has always made myself or my family members feel like that is the most important thing.
I will double down on that, because you helped Holly with her collarbone. We saw another doctor, she had a broken collarbone, and it wasn't healing properly, and she came to see you.
And I told him, I said, you need to go see the best doctor in the world.
And every time we left, I feel you and Gabe both, I felt like you really gave us your time and attention, and you understood our concerns, and that meant a lot to us, and it's helped her in her recovery.
Do you think that we were talking about the business side of medicine? Let's talk a little bit about the empathy side. Do you think that empathy can be taught for physicians? I mean, you have a lot of these guys that Tate experiences, I'm sure Peyton has, in med school that really didn't have any kind of real life experience. I mean, Peyton was a firefighter, Tate was a rescue swimmer, so they had real life clinical experience. And so you have these kids that were, high 4.5, billion GPA, but they never really touched a patient. And so the empathetic aspect of it, do you think that can be taught?
I think it can. I mean, there's degrees, of course, but yeah, I think it can. I know at Peyton's, at my son's medical school, they've already got them doing simulated clinical activities, things like that. And I asked them, they do grade them a little bit on their interactions. So not just, did you ask the right questions?
Oh.
Did you ask that, 10 questions that you had to ask, so
yeah.
They're trying to make them human.
Where do you think you got yours from? Do you think mom and dad? Do you think that's where?
I think dad, yeah. Dad was a big old strong athlete, but he was a puppy dog. He was shy and loved people and, liked friends and stuff. So and my mom too. My mom was just more flat and friendly, but dad liked people, so I bet I got it from him.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
You're a very unique physician, though.
I agree.
You really are. We've been very blessed to be in your presence.
Yeah. So are you practicing now?
I am back, yes.
I am back. The band is back together.
That's right.
That was never such a great email when I got that and said that you and Gabe were back, and because you stepped out for just a little bit.
Yeah. I was out probably 4 years, give or take.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't stop because I didn't like it. I just ran out of time.
Yeah.
I was running 3 jobs, and something had to give. And I don't know if you knew, the last 4 years of my orthopedic career was for free. I just did it. I didn't get paid.
Really?
Nah. So, but I enjoyed it. I didn't have anything else to do. It was fun, and so something had to give. So that gave, and so I stopped for a while. And I was running my private equity company, doing some other things, and then as things changed, Gabe was my physician assistant. I took him out of school, and your listeners, they probably don't know Gabe, but
Everybody should have a Gabe.
Great guy.
Best physician assistant, one of the best people I've ever met in my life. And so I sort of taught him what I knew, and he was already that kind of guy. And so we had such a good time. And we were like 12 and a half years together. We had a great time. And poor Gabe, he never worked a 40-hour week, because by the time he came on, I wasn't working that hard. Yeah. But he moved to another place. He called me for a couple of months. He says, "You got to get me out of here."
Help.
I know where that was because I visited Gabe over there. I followed Gabe.
So he came and worked with me for a little while in a non-medical thing, and then he got an entrepreneurial idea and wanted to run his own clinic. And he said, "Will you be my supervising doctor because you got out of that?" So I said, "Yeah." So we did that for a while, and then I got to where I wanted to kind of see some folks again. I was kind of missing it, and so I sort of started back on that path. So yeah, we've been at it since.
Is it your own practice? Just the two?
It's just the two of us, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Westlake Sports Medicine.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you, if people, it's like concierge
That's
medicine
what-
without the cost.
Yeah.
Is that right?
You get me and Gabe sitting in an office for an hour taking care of you. It's
Wow.
like, we don't see a bunch of patients.
What kind of stuff are you offering there?
Just everything. I mean,
Yeah.
everything orthopedic that we
Yeah.
saw before. I mean, if you need your spine operated on them, then I send you to a good spine guy. But we've got, most people don't need surgery, so we're doing that. And
Are you still doing surgery?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah.
I saw something about platelet therapy, plasma, or something like that.
Oh, there you go.
Platelet-rich plasma, PRP injections.
And
What's that?
That is that's where we draw blood out of your arm, spin it down, and have to separate the platelets from the rest of the blood. The platelets have over a dozen growth factors, and it helps with inflammation. It helps with angiogenesis, which is growth of blood vessels to help repair things. So I actually had that on my elbow. I had a long golfer's elbow, tennis elbow kind of thing.
So you inject it into the area where it's inflamed?
Yeah, you can inject it right into tendons. You can inject it into knees. It's not, it's not magic, but sometimes it can make people feel pretty good. I think it's what cured my elbow after being painful for 2 years, not getting better. And my wife has had it in the past, and so we use
maybe I'll
that.
need to get some of that right here.
Yeah, I got something going on my elbow. I probably need to get it too.
What do you think the worst thing that we do to our bodies on our bones?
That's a good question.
Oh gosh,
Sitting all day?
Sitting, yeah. And,
running on hard pavement.
Running is all that bad. It's a lot of times it's not sleeping. It's looking at screens before. Sleep is important, super important, so we get rid of senescent, dying cells.
Yeah.
And things like that. Sleep regenerates our body. The keys to longevity are 3 things. It's proper sleep, proper nutrition, what we eat, how much we eat, when we eat, and then exercise. So.
Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah. She's not doing the exercise. Yeah.
I got the 2 out of 3.
It's really important. It's really important. It keeps your bone density up.
I exercise in unconventional ways, Dr. Burns.
Yeah,
I'm not.
True. She'll work out in the garden for 4 hours on a Saturday. That's pretty.
I also say I run my mouth. That was what I said.
A lot of calories burned there. Dr. Burns, you mentioned 3 jobs. So one of them is orthopedics.
Yep.
And what are the other 2 jobs?
So at that time, so I was running a private equity company. We did multifamily and development of apartment properties.
Okay.
We did that for probably 15 years. And so was running that, and that was starting to grow pretty large. And then what happened was I got this friend. His name's Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's
Yeah.
the number one
Mhm.
personal finance
Yeah.
book like on the planet. So Robert and I have been friends for a long time, and we were sitting down at lunch one day, and he says, you should write a book. No, I asked him. I said, what's your next book? And he told me, and he goes, you should write a book. I said, no. No. He goes, no, you got kind of a story. I said, no, nobody wants to hear about whatever I got to say. He goes, you should do it. I said, well, if you can do it, so can I. So decided to do it. It wasn't that fast, but it's like, all right, I'll write a book. So
How long did it take you?
Took me 2 years. Took me 2.5 before I published it. Because I wrote every word of it. I was running a real estate company, full-time orthopedic practice. So you don't write very creatively when you're tired.
Yeah, no
So
kidding.
it was pretty much weekends.
Yeah.
So it was coffee, Kolachis, and Saturdays.
Yeah.
Coffee, Kolachis, and chapters.
Absolutely.
That may be the title.
There it is, right there.
So I just wrote that thing, and it was all me. And so I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to put my heart and soul into it. So I probably rewrote it 1,000 times, and then basically wrote it to give, hope and guidance to people that wanted a little extra in their life, a little bit of freedom to kind of do what they wanted. I guess that's why it's like you said, to write it. So I just did it, and I had a publisher that wanted to publish it. I didn't like their deal, so I published it through Amazon. Great marketer. I published it, and then 6 days later went to Turkey to go do some stuff. So I never marketed the book.
Oh.
Never did the podcast tour you're supposed to do for
Yeah.
6 months before. Never did it. So, but it sold quite a bunch.
It is called Why Doctors Don't Get Rich.
Yes.
So do you have to be a doctor in order to read this? Is it?
No, there's about 3 or 4 pages that talk to doctors. The rest of it's just kind of basic sound.
So what are
financial
the
advice.
top couple lessons from that you tell people?
It's a book about creating passive income. So that way you can be recording a podcast and
Yeah.
still bringing money in.
Yeah.
Right? So it's owning assets that produce income. If your assets produce enough income that covers the expenses that you have every month or every year, however, then all of a sudden you're free to do what you want to do.
Sure.
Your lifestyle's taken care of. And so it gives you more time to spend with your kids, work on hobbies, record
Play
podcasts,
tennis.
whatever
Yeah.
Learn Chinese, play the
Yeah.
guitar, play
Yeah,
tennis.
sure.
So that was sort of what I did. That's all I did. I just wanted, way back years and years ago, I just saw these doctors that weren't very happy that were training me. And I thought, man, I don't want their money if I got to have their life. So
Yeah.
I started looking for something that wasn't correlated with medicine. I just started buying just little bits of real estate because I was too stupid for everything else. So I just bought real estate. It was slow. Didn't have to. I could do it with partners. I could do
Sure.
it part time. And anyway, it created enough income that I had that freedom. So, and that's why Robert said to write the book. I wrote the book, and to kind of bring it all around to the end of the questions, I didn't realize that you write a book, well, you got to have a website, right?
Yeah.
And then you got to have this, and then you got
The business of writing the book.
Man, so many people started contacting me that I would always talk to folks, and they'd say, I have got these questions, and so I found myself 5-6 times a day having these 45-minute to hour calls with people that had read the book. So a friend of mine said, I was complaining about that, and a friend of mine who's in the online world, he laughed, he looked at me and goes, you're an idiot. I said, I know that, but why do you say that? He said, you need to put in a filter, and so he said, you need to allow them to pay you for that. I said, nobody's going to pay me for that.
Yeah,
Said,
get on the
they
speaker
will.
circuit.
And so he set something up. So that became a bit of a business.
What's that? Tell me about that model, because we might learn a lesson from that. So what was it? It was a website, and people paid for some kind of access?
It was yes, it was for access. So I just set up the website just to help. Mine was full of free stuff. It was full of tools and books recommendations. Hey, go get this book, and just here's how you go get the book, that sort of thing. It wasn't a monetized website. It was just there to be useful.
Sure.
And so he suggested, look, people have lots of questions, so it was access to me, and people did.
So like join a club?
It's like a mastermind.
Okay.
Mastermind.
All
That
right.
sort of thing.
And then you just were on the speaker circuit, right? Traveled all around, and that's a great use of your time.
It's
though.
funny because I think your journey with your book is very similar to ours with the podcast, where these doors keep opening up for us as we do this, and we're all of a sudden like, I didn't even know that door existed.
Right,
It's like
right.
somebody comes along and says, "Hey, why aren't you guys emceeing events?" We're like, "I never thought about that, but
Good
we'll pay
point.
you for that." So what do you, a lot of people that are listening probably don't have any real estate investments. What did you start off with? What was your first couple of purchases?
You bet. So I first decided I was going to do real estate. I was a resident, which is, if people know doctors.
You're poor.
Yeah, I was poor. Didn't have two nickels.
I was
together.
poor.
I mean,
Just say it.
You do med school and then you do this 5-year
Fellowship or-
indentured servitude thing. So that was where the docs were training me, and I didn't like their lifestyle, so I started learning stuff, and I really did. I looked at stock trading. I looked at going into administration, starting a business. I didn't have the time, money, expertise, all that. And so I thought I liked real estate, so I started learning. Al Gore hadn't invented the internet yet.
There was no YouTube or anything like that.
So I had to read, and I talked to friends and stuff like that, and so I waited. I came, and then I went to Vail, and the guy I was training, saw a lot of really well-to-do folks, and so I learned to keep my mouth shut and my ears open. I just listened. I met Arthur Rock, who's like the father of venture capital.
Oh,
I met all
geez.
these real estate moguls, so I just would sit and listen and learned what I could. Came back to Austin, credit card debt and all that stuff, and so waited till I paid off some bills, and the first thing I bought was a student condominium on West Campus at the University of Texas.
Like a single unit or a whole?
Single unit.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly. I show it a lot. I show this stuff a lot when I give talks. It's like, guys, everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah.
So I bought. There's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. I wouldn't buy that now, but
It's a good place to start, and you're going to get a tenant every single year.
Well, I had a tenant. The reason I did is like we had my wife's nephew was coming to Texas. He was going to go get a condo. I said, well, okay, I'll buy one. You can give the rent to me. I'll give you a break. And so by then I'd learned a little bit how to figure out the numbers. A little bit. I've been listening. I was friends with Kiyosaki. I was learning some stuff. By then I don't know if I did Kiyosaki or not, but I'd learned. And so I looked in the newspaper. That's like the internet that you
Yeah, I
The
remember
Craigslist,
that. I bought my first property off a classified ad in Austin, Statesman. Yeah.
Exactly. It was apartments and condos.
Uh-huh.
And so I called the guy. He showed me the place, and I looked. It looked like it was going to make some cash flow. I said, well, I guess I'd like to get it. And what do I do? And he goes, well, you put in an offer.
Okay.
How do I do that?
Yeah.
He said, I'll do that for you. So he did it.
Uh-huh.
He goes, congratulations, you got it. I was like, that's awesome. I said, what do I do next? And it goes. And so he said, well, you need to get an inspection. You need to talk about some insurance. You need to get a loan. So, okay. So I said, inspection. He goes, I know somebody. I'll get that. And I called my home insurance guy, and he said no, but I found that he pointed me somewhere. And I went to some banker that I played tennis with. I said, well, I'm supposed to get money from you. So and he starts asking me for cash flow statements and tax returns and stuff. It's like, why? Anyway, but eventually I learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
Scared to death. Tiny purchase relative to today, but and it worked out.
Yeah.
Maybe $150 a month in cash flow.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a student of learning? Being in med school, that you're always wanting to learn new things?
Constant, continuous learner. We all should be.
Well,
I think
I
that's
saw
a big
something
lesson.
that you're also into cryptocurrency at one point, or I don't
Mhm.
know if you're still into that, which that is so foreign to me.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I'm not sure if I get it. I just had some. That's why I wanted to learn about it. So
Yeah.
I bought some.
Yeah.
I didn't like bet the farm or anything like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, got some crypto. So
Has it made money for you?
It has.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But whipsaws like this. So I bought a little bit recently, and so I'm down on that. But overall,
Yeah.
up a lot.
So going back to your first initial investment, I talk to people all the time in my business, my real estate business, and they always ask me, how do you get started in real estate? And you started real small, but what? Just your average guy that wants to. I mean, actually, Michelle and Todd have talked about buying something. So what's your advice for the average guy who just thinks about this?
You bet. And that's the question I get all the time as well. It depends. So there's a couple ways to get into real estate. I kind of talk about 3 ways to make money: actively, passively, and passively active, which is one I made up.
Yeah.
But you know, the real estate that I bought, that condo I told you about, that's now in that passively active column because I haven't walked into that condo for 34 years. No, 33
You
years.
still have it?
I still have it.
Oh my gosh.
Haven't seen the place since I walked it.
Wow.
All it does is pay me every month. The debt's gone.
Yeah.
Obviously. I could refinance it if
Sure.
I wanted to. I just chose. Anyway, so that's passive. I don't do anything.
Yeah.
In fact, my guy actually sends paper checks still. He's the only one. So that is, so I still actively have to do stuff. I have to look at the report every month. I have to put that check on my desk and snap a picture of it. Throw it in my bag.
That's how
passively
Steve
active.
pays me.
Yeah.
But point being, so now actually, so that was that. But then there's passive and active. So that was an active thing, right? You go out and buy something.
Sure.
And people sometimes, say, oh, I've got to own, a 100-unit apartment complex or 200 units or this, and I'm too small. So, man, there's don't sneeze at owning a duplex, a fourplex, or because you buy one, you buy another one. A nice little portfolio of stuff that you want 100% of can do very well. In fact, the stuff that I bought on my own has done the best through all the
Is that
downturns.
right? Yeah.
And so so you can go buy something, and depending on where your finances allow, maybe you buy one condo or maybe you buy a 20-unit apartment complex. It just depends. And then the other option is passively. Certainly, you can invest in a syndication where somebody's, a general partner's doing all the work, finding the deal, getting the debt, aggregating the money. You're just part of that aggregation, and that's got its own set of sort of rules and guides that you need to do to make sure you invest with the right people. That's the kind of stuff I teach my folks.
Yeah. But I think the big thing is don't wait for the perfect deal. Just go buy something that makes sense on paper. Know that it could have some ups and downs, but get invested in something.
Yeah, and get invested small because you're going to learn some lessons, and and so why not buy those lessons at a discount?
Yeah.
You could invest big and get the same lesson, invest small and get the same lesson.
Yeah.
So
start off with something. Just get something. Get it going.
Absolutely.
So you got all these. You're juggling all these things, Tom. And how have you avoided being burned out? What do you do to avoid that?
I don't know. I like doing all these things. So you were asking about continuous growth. I went through a interesting. I went through a vision process, a core values process, put on by a guy who runs what's called the One Thing, which is Gary's. We're sitting here in an office.
Gary
So Gary Keller,
Yep.
a good friend of mine, and so through him I got to meet this other guy. So I did that core values process, and it's hard to boil things down. So I boiled it down to adventure, connection, and growth. So growth is that continuous learning thing, and so maybe the way I don't burn out is the other two, the adventure and the connection. I was just in a place where there's reindeer running across the road.
Like actual they're getting ready. They're going to be a little busy in 2 weeks.
Are they training there? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, they're training for flying around the world.
They say
the reindeer.
No, not the reindeer. The ski team.
Well, I mean, they said the big guy lives right down the street, so those reindeer might have been trained. So
lives right down the street. Ho ho ho.
But no, we were competing. It was first World Cup.
Oh,
of the
okay,
year,
okay.
Yeah, so it was a good time.
Yeah.
It was just dark all
So, Dr. Burns, you've been so busy your entire career, your adult life. You have 2 adult children, and you've been married for a long time. But when you were raising your kids, what were some of the non-negotiables that you wouldn't budge on in regards to your family life, whether it was going to Peyton's wrestling match or things that your daughter was doing?
That's a great question. I think I was just blessed to have these thoughts first and work it, because I've seen some people that just can't fathom doing this, but I didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
So it was just easy. It was a prioritization thing. Simple example. When my kids were, I forget which, my daughter actually, she was, so it was early in my career, real early. She was a first grader. It's my time to read. Well, it's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I canceled office, drove down there, so I would cancel office to go read. I started work at 6 in the morning. My colleagues would start at like 7:30, 8:30, so I could be finished, because I met the kids at the bus at 3 o'clock.
Wow.
And so fun for me. I like hanging around with my kids, so I didn't want to miss stuff. And so became easier and easier to just make that decision. You know, it's like telling the truth. You just keep telling it, it gets easier. Well, and then I had a partner who we sat down one day and he said, you know, hey, he had one of those practices everybody was envious about, and you know, the hospitals loved him. But he said, you know, I spent 15 years building this practice. He said, but I didn't have a good relationship with my kids. Teenagers. I'm trying to reestablish a relationship, and he goes, it's not working. And he's like crying and telling me, so that just reinforced it. So it was being there. It was being there, and so and it paid off, because when my daughter was in her late 20s, one of her friends was getting married. I'm standing around with a little gaggle of these girls. They're all standing around, and one of them, Callie, looks up and she goes, Dr. B, you were always the fun dad.
Oh,
best reward of my life.
Well, now you have your son, Peyton, who is stepping into the same profession that you were in. That's a pretty cool journey to watch your son. You talked about kind of the progression of what he did.
Yep.
What a compliment to you as a father and just as a man, as a human being.
And he's followed in your footsteps, because he's had multiple careers already.
Yep.
He's like, I guess I'll do what Dad does.
That guy's a Renaissance man. He's way more talented than me.
Didn't you say he was an MMA fighter for a while?
He was state champion wrestler.
At Westlake.
Okay.
And
then he was an amateur and then professional MMA fighter.
Wow.
That's just not fun to watch.
I told Steve I saw him fight. We saw him several times because Tate would drag us along, and we saw him fight when Nutty Brown was still around.
Yeah.
And he got hurt, and then I saw you pop up, and I was like, well, of course he does this because his dad's an orthopedic surgeon.
He won that fight.
Yes.
When watching your son get kicked in the face and watching his eyes roll back, it's just not fun.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
But he's a trained professional drummer, and he can play Bach and Rachmaninoff on the piano like nobody's business. So it's crazy. Now he's gonna, he's a firefighter. Now he's gonna be a doctor. So
he's got your sense of trying to learn all kinds of things.
No, I think it's unmedicated ADD.
Right. Welcome to the podcast.
What kind of stuff have you thought about? I can tell you're not going to slow down. What have you thought about in your future? What are you looking at trying to do next, or what's your life look like a couple years from now?
So I don't have giant monetary goals, to be honest. I don't want to be the biggest there. I don't have to have a jet. I'd like one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get there. So I just want to make sure there's enough so that we can travel.
Yeah.
My wife is now, so I've traveled a lot. Now my wife's starting to count the countries she's been to. So that's the big goal is really to do that, but I gotta have something that's I gotta have something that gets me
that
up.
you're working towards.
And so that's why I went back to seeing patients, because it's just gratifying. It's fun. Who knows if that'll ever make me any money, but that's really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then this education thing we talked about is a lot of fun as well. So and I'll stay in the real estate world. I'll continue to buy stuff on my own and put deals together for others. So
I think I talk to people, they retire and then they just stop, and you can't do that. I think you just got to have something, like you said, gets you up out of bed every day and gives you a purpose.
Purpose is key. Yeah, without purpose, we dwindle, and people
real quick.
Do you have grandbabies yet?
No.
Oh wait, just wait.
I know.
It's the best. It is the best.
That's what my wife. We want some stuff. My kids are listening to this.
Okay, pay attention.
Yeah, so they'll get there.
What on the traveling side? What's your favorite place you've been so far, and where are you thinking about that you'd like to go?
What's
that you
next?
haven't been?
And so I think next year I'm going to Azerbaijan.
Oh, jeez.
Because I haven't been there.
Yeah.
I
don't even know where that is. I know where.
I didn't either. It's bordered on the south by Iran, on the north by Russia, and
that seems like a real safe place to go about right now.
Albania to the east.
Yeah.
To the
Is
west,
your wife going with you on this trip?
No.
I wouldn't either.
Are you just going to go visit, or you have a purpose for going?
It's a ski team trip.
No way.
No.
Yeah. So they're like Azerbaijan, the country's the new sponsor for the Freestyle World Cup this year.
Holy cow. Wow. That is weird.
I think they're trying to raise awareness. So anyway, I'll go to Azerbaijan.
Well, they just raised our awareness.
Yeah.
But I want to go there, and there's places in Africa I haven't been yet. mostly the northern part, so I'd like to go to Morocco. I'd love to get into Sudan and places like that, but that may not happen.
Where would you not go again?
Belarus. That was kind of
yeah.
dreary, but it was, I went there. Not that excited about Russia, but I'd probably go to southern Russia if I had to, see what it looked like.
What was your favorite place you've gone, or favorite couple places?
Man, I like being out in the bush in Africa.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you go hunting, or you just go? Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've slept under the stars out there before, which is sometimes not the smartest thing to do.
I was gonna say, one of my big fears in life, which is not rational at all, is being eaten by a lion. I'm not sure how well I'd do sleeping under the stars in Africa.
Yeah, somebody was stayed up all night, I guess. But
I'm noting that down.
So.
Steve, bring lion in studio.
I'll tell you, we went in just this May. So I go to all these places. I go a lot in the wintertime with the ski team. It's kind of like scouting expeditions.
Oh yeah.
Right? And then so I've been to Switzerland before, but we went with the kids. We took the kids, went to Italy for something, then went to Switzerland in May. And it's just one big giant postcard.
Is that right?
Beautiful place. I would go back there in a heartbeat. It's a beautiful place.
Never been there. I need to put that on my list.
What kind of advice would you give to men, particularly that are so career-minded that they need to learn to kind of stop and smell the roses? What kind of career advice would you give, taken from your life experience?
It's an identity thing, probably. It's like when they say, if you want to lose weight, right? It's not, I need to stop eating candy bars. It's just my identity is I'm somebody that doesn't eat candy bars.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing if you're, if you're doing your. Oh God, can you repeat the question?
That is such a great
advice for somebody
advice.
That's on that career wheel,
That's
that
right.
hamster wheel.
That is, I love that way of thinking though. I've most recently heard that about identifying as something instead of the positive side of it instead of the negative side of it.
And I forgot where I was going, but now I get it's I am a dad and a husband who runs an X business.
Yeah.
I'm a so and so businessman that's married and has kids.
Yeah.
Because you'll hear that, this is Joe Blow, he's a CEO of whatever. He's married, he's got kids, so that's a funny thing to say, but yeah, it's put the family first. It's easy to do.
There's so many people that don't, and they're miserable. If you don't have connection with your family and your friends and your community, you can make as much money as you want and be the head of whatever company, but if you don't have those other things, life's hard.
I can tell you, I've been in the rooms where the guys have stood up and said, I just sold my company, and I watched them cry.
Yeah.
Because they just don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's sad. It seems easy, but it tends to be pretty focused, kind of like I mentioned, attention deficit. Really obsessive people build good businesses. And sometimes somebody needs to pull them back, or do some things to get them to realize that while you're building this, you've got to keep your relationships, because I've seen lots of them.
I've experienced that with Tate right now in med school. He explained something to us that he has the bandwidth of squirrel, but he has the bandwidth where he can focus all on his education, or he can focus on his family. And right now his education is the most important, and when he has that little, everything in his mind is segmented percentage wise. Okay. And when he takes that little percentage out, when he's unfocused from his education and he's taking that percentage out, he's focusing on Madison, his wife, which absolutely. And so when I'm like, just call me sometime, just send Mom a text, just a little ping, just a little heart where I know you're good, and so, but I get it. What he's doing is so hyper focused and so stress inducing, and it's hard to stop sometimes and just kind of smell the roses. But I want him to carry that into his career. When he was a rescue swimmer, I used to say, don't forget that the people sometimes that you're rescuing, that these are real people. That's not just a case. They're real people. And that was something that I touched on earlier. You would come in the room, and we were the most important part of your day.
Yep.
And that from a patient standpoint, that really mattered, especially when you're dealing with your child.
My last question, Tom. What's the biggest misconception about doctors in the general public?
Well, they think we know everything. They watch TV. You deliver a baby, cure cancer, do brain surgery, work on psychology. So we have become quite specialized, except for pediatricians, family practice, internal medicine folks. But and that we're all super rich.
Yeah.
We do. Doctors make an above average professional income, and I talk to a lot of docs saying, look, you make good money, so quit whining.
Yeah.
But it's not. They did work hard for it. Like I say, they gave up 10 years of not making.
Yeah.
Anything.
Sure.
So that's probably it. That they and sometimes they'll think we don't care, which kind of goes into that thing coming in the room. If they get too rushed because of outside forces or whatever, it can make you short and clipped, and which is a shame because I was probably doing when I was in the room with you. I was probably doing it for my own benefit because I enjoy people.
Sure.
I enjoyed, and that's what I want them to get. Enjoy meeting the next new person. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the patients know. The patients can tell the ones that really care and the ones that are just like, I got 5 minutes and I got to move on to the next patient. You can tell. It's evident. We've run into that a few times ourselves.
What's the one thing, to close this out, that most people don't know about you?
Ooh, I don't know. I play the guitar.
You do play the guitar?
I do, yeah. Probably not that good.
If you weren't a doctor, would you be a musician?
I would have. Well, that was, yeah. If I couldn't play on Wimbledon, I wanted to be a rock star, and didn't start playing the guitar till I was like 50.
Oh, jeez.
That sort of, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I don't. I think that's it. Yeah. I'm never. I'm not as smart as people think I am, but I'm really enjoying what I do. So,
You don't just play a doctor on TV.
That's right.
Yeah,
right?
I do have another question then. Who gave you that big thinking? Like, you didn't just say, I want to play with the top pros. You said, I want to play at Wimbledon. I want to be a rock star. Who gave you that big thinking?
It's interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, we all have dreams, right? I mean, everybody
but
dreams.
a lot of people don't dream that big. Like they'll say, well, I'll go be a nurse, and you've like gone to the maximum when you think about dreaming.
Well, that was my fantasy. Absolutely good fantasies. Did I believe I could do that? Obviously not. Yeah. Because I went into medicine instead of tennis. So again, probably both my mom and dad were, because they never pushed. They just they kind of guided and exposed and let me kind of go do stuff and told me I was a little crazy once in a while, but probably got it from them.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for people to have, not to limit themselves, to think big, think, what can I do? Like you could just be your doctor in your practice, just seeing a few people a day, but you've wrote a book and you've done investments and real estate and all these other
Created good
things.
humans.
Yeah, that's right. So
a mentor where you didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you step out, that's part of it. If you'll have the guts to step out, because you're going to trip, you're going to fall,
Sure.
you're going to fall off the gutter a number of times. So, and I've had a lot of painful things.
Sure.
Happen,
Yeah.
right? But with that's come a bunch of good stuff. I've met some people I wouldn't, I play tennis pretty regularly with Richard Branson.
Oh, geez, really?
So,
wow.
That's something maybe people don't know.
Yeah. No,
really
we did
fun.
not know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that wouldn't have happened if I
Yeah.
wasn't doing what I do. And so, that kind of stuff is, so you weigh the good, cool stuff with
Sure.
the, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Here's where I
yeah.
made a mistake. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're always going to make mistakes.
So who wins when you play tennis with Richard Branson?
Well, I always win. He signed a book once. He goes, you're what we call a gentleman. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you were nice to me.
Oh, geez.
He may have a couple of jets laying around that
Yeah.
that he'll
You buy
just
one
give
of
you
his
one.
used ones.
Yeah, maybe. We are very blessed that you spent an hour of your day with us, and not only is Austin and the Hill Country glad that you have taken great care of our patients and my family, including Steve's family, but you are just a good human all around. And so thank you so much for spending your time with us and sharing your day. We really appreciate
and
that.
I appreciate, you've done all these cool things in your life, and you're still very grounded. And I've just enjoyed sitting here, just having a conversation.
Dr. Humble, right there.
Yeah. I had fun. It was fun. Like I say, I go all day.
Yeah,
I'll tell you whatever lies you need to hear.
That's the way we are too. This is the highlight of our week many times. So, but thanks for joining us today, Tom.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for asking.
Stop.